Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Again. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, shockingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everybody. Tonight is Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. This is live stream 1044. No, 43. Yes, it's 43. Took me a second. Wait a second. No, it's 1043. See, you take a week off and I can't even remember what number we're on. So if you're not overly familiar with this show, let me point out, it's super casual around here. We just hang out talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and I'll usually pontificate about a topic related to our hobby, which is what I shall be doing tonight. But of course, we're not doing any mental heavy lifting by any stretch of the imagination. Just hanging out, having some fun. Now, of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on this channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Well, as I bump that, oh, now we got the music again. Damn it, 2 shows in a row. I bumped the keyboard with my elbow and moved on to the next frame there. Alrighty. Okay. Oh, see, the music's still playing. I was going to skip past that. Yes. Hey, all right, whatever. Have done a show in 10 days, something like that. Yeah. It's lackadaisical around here. It's half-assed. What can I tell you? Anyway, so get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, if you are watching live, there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you happen to be a subscriber to the channel for at least 5 minutes, yes, I have changed that. It used to be 48 hours. Now it's only 5 minutes. Anyway, if you're a subscriber, you can take part in chat. So if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight is our good friend of the show, the Motor City Madman. That's right, joining us from the Detroit area. And no, it is not Ted Nugent. Thank God. Kathy Evans is also in the house, as is Tony Urquides, Kevin King, Tesco Love, Semper Buffo. Royce is with us. I think it's been around a while since we saw Royce. Lord Cost 2000, Chris Lundgren, and Hector Stratford. So, pretty rockin' chat right off the bat. I had a feeling that we'll probably see our viewer numbers a bit lower than usual, saying that I took time off. Yeah, you know. I was under the weather. I had a sinus thing going on, so it was messing with my voice. as well as, my ability to project, which I'm not really projecting that much. But still, I didn't want to sit here doing videos and talking like this. Yep. But I'm feeling good now. I am feeling good right now. So let's see. Anything cooking in chat before we jump into the news? Chris Lundgren says, darn, no heavy mental lifting. Now they're sad. Hey, trying to make it easy on everybody. W Forge is with us, as is Ziggy 7800 Pro. Yes, thank you. I am feeling better. It wasn't like I was really sick. It just, for one, I figured I was going to be taking this week off because if you follow the Gaming Gang, you know that every quarter I'll take a week off from doing the live shows. So I was planning on doing it this week, but then I figured, I'm not feeling too hot. My sinuses are all screwed up. I'll just do it the last week. So there you go. There you go. Russell Higgins is also joining us in chat. So welcome, everybody. Let's jump on into the news because the Laundry second edition of the role-playing game has passed the 600% funding mark over for our friends over at Cubicle 7 Games. Of course, I am talking about their current Kickstarter, and let's dive on in. Welcome to the Laundry. You're one of the unlucky few standing between humanity and unspeakable, often unpronounceable, supernatural, alien, and interdimensional threats. You're a spy. Well, you are now, at least. Previously, you were someone who learned things humanity was not meant to know, namely that magic is real. It exists in the higher realms of mathematics, and it has some really messed up devotees. And if you know that much, then you're not left with much of a choice. You work for the Laundry now. If you're familiar with Charles Stross's award-winning The Laundry Files series, or the first edition of the award-winning Laundry role-playing game, guilty on both counts, you know all this already and can skip to just looking forward to the books, the new award-winning game system, or just go ahead and pick a pledge level already. Just remember that everything here has won awards, okay? Lots of them. There are things out there in the weirder reaches of space-time where reality is an optional extra. Horrible things, sometimes with actual tentacles. Al-Hazred glimpsed them, John Dee summoned them, H.P. Lovecraft wrote about them, and Alan Turing mapped the paths from our universe to theirs. It turns out that mathematics really is magic, or at least that aspect of it. Describe, enable, and power magic. And computing power supercharges it. The right calculation can call up entities from other older universes or invoke their powers. Invisibility? Easy. Binding lesser demons to your will? Trivial. Opening up the way for the great old ones to come through and eat our brains? Unfortunately, much too easy. That's where the Laundry comes in. It's a branch of the British Secret Service tasked with preventing alien gods from wiping out all life on Earth, with a policy focus on the United Kingdom. You work for the Laundry. The hours are long, the pay is bad, and the bureaucracy is stifling. But unfortunately, you know too much to really have a choice in the matter. There are some upsides. You get to play with all sorts of magically enhanced tech, from Necronom iPhones. I guess it would be Necronomophones. Loaded with cutting-edge occult apps to basilisk guns sorry, that's redacted. Plus, you've got a job for life and possibly beyond. Talk to residual human resources to find out more. You may even get to save the world. Just make sure you get a receipt. There is a Kickstarter video. It's a couple of minutes long, so let's take a peek.
Are you tired of fighting the same old dragons over and over again? Wouldn't you rather fight a new family of dragons? Or better yet, wouldn't you rather play as a new dragon species in your 5e or Pathfinder game? Well, now you can. Roll for Combat, the creators of the incredibly popular Battlezoo Ancestries dragons, have done it again with Battle.
Welcome to the government's occult espionage agency, known to its operatives as the Laundry. As a new member of staff, you will be assigned to one of many functional staff branches, including research and development, IT, logistics, or counter-possession. Do not worry, you have a job for life, or even longer, thanks to residual human resources. You will work as part of a cross-disciplinary team to undertake vital missions, retrieve mysterious artifacts, halt extra-dimensional incursions, and face... Your best efforts are expected, and accomplishing your targets will result in additional rewards and benefits. To aid you on your assignments, you will have access to the latest in defense equipment, banishment rounds for your personal weapon, a hand of glory, as well as the latest in personal communications and computing technology. Remember, when the operation is complete, it is vital to file Form R70 and return all equipment undamaged. You are the country's only protection against unlicensed sorcery, dangerous cults, accidental possession, extraplanar incursions, and the mind-melting threats we must face as we prepare for the inevitable Case Nightmare Green. Welcome to The Laundry. The Laundry role-playing game from Cubicle 7.
You can reserve a copy of the 2 core books, plus PDFs and stretch goals for the Laundry 2nd edition. For a pledge of approximately $97, you can grab just the PDFs and digital stretch goals for a pledge of approximately $61. Now, expected delivery is February of next year for the physical titles and this August for the digital files. Russell Higgins says, sounds a lot like Paranoia. I'm not sure where you're getting that idea from, Russell. This is modern Lovecraftian role-playing with kind of a satirical bend. Maybe that's where you're getting the kind of the satire part. I guess maybe that we could possibly see. But no, it is not like Paranoia whatsoever, because it is essentially just I don't want to say urban fantasy, but it is modern mythos adventuring. And who is asking, W4 Jazz, who put out the original role-playing game? It was Cubicle 7 Entertainment. It was built on Call of Cthulhu, if I remember correctly. So that was back in the day when C7 did a lot of, did I say Cubicle 7 Entertainment? They want to be referred to as Cubicle 7 Games nowadays. I keep forgetting that because I've spent so many years saying Cubicle 7 Entertainment. But I guess back in the day when this was out in the first edition, it was Cubicle 7 Entertainment. But this was back when Cubicle 7 did a lot of Call of Cthulhu-focused releases, like the Britannia series, which was really well done. They also did World War Cthulhu. So that was another one that they had. Then they also had the London source book for Call of Cthulhu. So there was a lot of cool stuff that Cubicle 7 Games did, built on Chaosium Inc.'s core system. Now, from what I understand, this is going to operate on their new system. I think they call it the C7 system. So we shall see. I believe it's the same system that powers the Broken Weave role-playing game. So, which is actually out in PDF. Might talk about that later on this week. But pretty cool. I'm pretty happy to see this. I did review the original edition of The Laundry, and I liked it, but I had some issues with the humor. I thought it was actually shooting a little too much for the humor as opposed to the actual kind of mythos side of things. And if you are familiar with Charlie Strauss's The Laundry Files novels and short stories, there is some humor to it, but it's really dark and it is satirical. And I just didn't think the first edition captured it as well as I thought they could. I liked it, but I think they went a little overboard in the way that the rules were presented. The book was presented was trying to be funny. And it was sort of like, Scott Weagle's with us. My good pal Scott, who I went to high school with. Welcome aboard, Scott. And Flint Fireforge is also hanging out with us in chat. Very nice, very nice. And yes, I did that video thing on purpose because if you noticed, the laundry video started off with where like it was interrupting your television. So yes, that was on purpose. Moving on to our next news piece. Hitting stores in May from our friends over at Paizo Inc. is Pathfinder Howl of the Wild. And here's the scoop. It's a wild adventure. A sound echoes across the world's farthest wildernesses, the howl of countless animals and beasts. This all-new 224-page Pathfinder rulebook dives deep into the wilderness like never before. With new ancestries, character options, animal companions, wilderness foes, and more. Howl of the Wild provides a traveler's pack worth of value for players and game masters alike. Join a bumbling naturalist and an eccentric crew as they cross continents in their fantastic airship, searching for 4 legendary beasts. Along the expedition, you'll find 6 playable new ancestries to bring PC's wildest characters to life. Strong minotaurs, swift centaurs, magical merfolk, amphibious athamaris. Animals awakened to consciousness, and insectile metamorphic sorkies. Archetype spells and other player options inspired by nature, from additional options for shape-shifting druids to playable were creatures to archetypes that let you fight with claw, tail, or wing. New animal companions, weapons, and armor forged from the scales and fangs of magical beasts, and all the gear you can need out in the field. There's also a menagerie of Galarian's animals and beasts for GMs to unleash on players, covering animals like dinosaurs and sharks. Dinosaurs an animal? Okay. Expansions on classic monsters like chimeras and griffins, and never-before-seen creatures like the transparent sky fisher. See, look, it's right there. It's transparent. You can't see it. The potion brewing apothecary bee and the extra-dimensional rift chameleon. Did I say it's apothecary bee? The hell came out of my mouth? I don't think it was that word. All these rules will be optimized for the remastered Pathfinder 2nd Edition. So there is that. Yes, yes, yes. I believe this is hitting stores May 24th, if I remember correctly. The 224-page hardcover will carry an MSRP of $64.99. Or you can grab just the PDF for $19.99. Well. Could be kind of interesting. I have said time and time again, I am not necessarily a big fan of anthropomorphic animals in my role-playing games. That's why I don't think Battle Zoo from Roll for Combat would be a good fit for my table running, a fantasy role-playing game. But I know a lot of people out there dig them. This is going to be a bit more of that, especially the uplifted animals. Yes, I'm looking at you, Rocket Raccoon. Yes. Pretty nice. And of course, you will see coverage of Howl of the Wild for Pathfinder here on the Gaming Gang channel because I will get a copy of it. Should mention, I have my review of the Monster Core coming up. It'll probably be late this weekend or early into next week. And Sammy is tackling the 7 Dooms for Sandpoint adventure. So we should have that review pretty shortly as well. So who was it that commented about the adventure path? There we go. Flint says, not an adventure path with multiple books? Yes, there is. It actually launched this month. So let's see, I'm trying to remember. Have I received it yet? No. I have gotten the PDF. So that is actually on its way. W. Ford says, I guess Jeff is not an Iron Claw fan. I only have one book for Iron Claw, and it's fine. I don't have an issue with it, but I would feel kind of odd doing a video where it's like, hey, why you should play Iron Claw. I mean, I guess, what is there, like 2 or 3 books? Don't worry, W. Forge, you'll like the basic fantasy video. Relax. Unless you've invested in Iron Claw somehow. You have some financial interest in its coverage. Sylvia is with us. I believe this might be a first-time visit in chat for IM. Welcome aboard. And RPG Dad is also joining us. I believe also a first-time visit here in chat. So everybody make them welcome. And of course, everybody, just kick back and relax and chat. That's what it's there for. So there is another Kickstarter I want to talk about. It's the storytelling game Eureka! Investigative urban fantasy. Here's the skinny from the Agency of Narrative Intrigue and Mystery. Yeah, I'm not going to repeat that again. You can actually pick this up. I want to say there are, if I remember correctly, I think there are 2 different, I think there's more than 2 different pledge levels, but I don't think this is available as a physical book. Anyway, Eureka! Investigative Urban Fantasy is a tabletop role-playing game that features investigation mechanics that let players take initiative, use their characters' unique strengths to find clues, and deduce conclusions themselves rather than just walk into a room and roll investigate. Play as mystery-solving detectives, amateur or professional, who use their different sets of knowledge, personalities, and unique gameplay mechanics to sleuth their way through a challenging but rewarding world. Roleplay and mechanics are tightly bound together, and your character's personality and traits will ensure a totally different gameplay experience from your fellow players. Eureka supports and rewards real-time deduction from the players and gives you the power to build up and pop off drama, suspense, and excitement around every corner. Now, there is a short Kickstarter video, but do have to point out the music set off the copyright flag. So what I can do, because I'm not really sharing a whole lot of info here about this, and this really does sound pretty interesting. What I can do is I am going to go and I am going to actually set up the video, and I'm going to effectively mute it. But it's going to take a second here. So let me go into one of my video scenes. All right. Okay, so just wanted to share some more information about Eureka because it does sound pretty cool. And I like how they make reference to Sherlock Holmes, Columbo, and Clouseau, and Kolchak. It's like, what? The artwork, I think the artwork that they share in this is kind of weak. But I don't think that this is really the artwork that's in the game. I think this is more along the artwork and the graphics that are in the actual game book. So, not positive. Kevin R. Smith is joining us, good friend of the show. We also have DM Tales and Dengar the Mighty. So welcome to the three of you. Good to see everybody. So DM Tales says there's 3 streams they're trying to follow tonight. That's a pretty serious juggling act. So the Madman says DM Tales hasn't missed anything except some game. What? He hasn't missed anything? Okay, fine. I see how that is. Taking that chat moderator tag away from the Madman. So I wonder if Miss Sarah D is hanging out in chat with us tonight. Don't know. Do not know. Probably. That's my guess. Anyway, so as I mentioned, this looks kind of interesting. So Kevin King says it's like the opening credits for a Pink Panther movie. Yeah, a little bit. I think so. I think a little bit. Very nice. Very nice. So sorry you didn't get music in that with that, but like I said, I don't want to get flagged for copyright infringement. Sarah D is with us tonight. Very nice. Very cool. She is lurking in the shadows. Anyway, you can reserve a copy of the Eureka Rulebook and the initial 3 adventures in PDF for a $32 pledge through May 10th. If you want just the rulebook, it is a $22 pledge. And like I said, I think this is only for PDFs. The way the Kickstarter is laid out, the pledge levels lead me to believe that it is only PDFs that are available. Then again, I might have been misreading it, but I also thought this looked kind of interesting, so I wanted to make sure to share that info with you. So DM Tales says they've been running Basic Fantasy for about 3 years. So we are going to be talking about Basic Fantasy tonight once we move on through the news. So next news piece here, the Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 starter set is now available in PDF. And I've got the deets from Modiphius Entertainment. Welcome to the Secret War. In this Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 starter set, you'll get your first glimpse into the hidden globe-spanning conflict between the forces of good and evil. Only you and your scrappy band of heroes can defeat the malignant forces of the occult and the malevolent might of their mythos masters. Punch brain-sucking horrors in the tentacles. You were expecting another word that sounds like that. Ride drilling machines at top speed through terror-filled tunnels. Peer deeply into musty tomes of eldritch knowledge never meant for the eyes of mere mortals. Wield powerful magic and potent psychic powers to fight uncanny threats. Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 immerses you in a world of fast-paced pulp adventure, occult horror, and incredible feats of daring do. Explore ancient ruins and forbidden knowledge. Battle fanatical cultists, crazed scientists, evil sorcerers, deadly deep ones, and bizarre alien threats. Laugh in the face of reality-warping nightmares from beyond the stars. Grow in power, gain experience, and develop new skills in a series of exciting globe-trotting adventures until you're ready to face down the mind-shattering master of R'lyeh, Dread Cthulhu himself. And do not comment on this video about how I am mispronouncing Cthulhu, because this is the pronunciation 99% of the people out there utilize. And yes, I understand it. The expert on H.P. Lovecraft, yes, says, oh, it's supposed to be Cthulhu. But if Neil Gaiman pronounces Cthulhu, Cthulhu, and if Peter Straub pronounces Cthulhu, Cthulhu, and Ramsey Campbell pronounces Cthulhu, Cthulhu, I'm going to fucking pronounce it Cthulhu. Take that with you. Starter rules to quickly launch you into Achtung Cthulhu's cinematic world of pulp adventures is contained within, as well as Among the Wolves, a thrilling 60-page 3-act starter mission, which takes you from Dunkirk to the heart of an alien hive city. There's also 6 pre-generated characters so you can play right away and quick reference sheets to help players master the rules. There are 6 digital maps and over 100 tokens to run battles and encounters. Sadly, you do not get dice, obviously enough, because it's a PDF. This box set is already in stores. It hit stores last week. Carries an MSRP of $39.99. I have also seen it stated that its MSRP is $40. I think it's the $39.99, honestly. But you can grab the PDF alone. It is just arrived on Drive-Thru RPG today. You can score it for $20. And if you're curious, what is in this starter set? Well, I shared a first look video. That's right. I shared it last week. There was an embargo on sharing this. In fact, it was kind of funny. I received this mid-March, and I had to sit on it until, what was it, April 10th? Something like that. I was like, zoinks. But it's pretty impressive. And I have to say that the 60-page adventure has got a good amount of content to it. So it is certainly not a starter adventure like we see in a lot of role-playing games, even some starter sets, which maybe you're going to get a session or 2 out of. No, you're going to get a good amount of adventuring out of that tale. So there is some discussion going on about basic fantasy. I will probably kind of go back to this conversation once we get into the discussion about why you should play basic fantasy. So keep that in mind. I'm not ignoring chat. I'm just looking to try to get through the news, get you what a lot of you are looking forward to, and then we'll discuss basic fantasy. All right, final news piece of the evening. Now in stores from Edge Studio is Twilight Imperium War for the Throne. Here's what I know. Only the Calaris can hope to defeat this evil. When one of the Galactic Council's early warning surveillance stations goes silent, a team of operatives must discover if this is the prelude to an invasion. Little do they realize that this will plunge them into a maelstrom of treachery, mystery, and warfare that sees the fate of the galaxy resting in their hands. This supplement for the Genesis role-playing game includes a thrilling 3-part adventure for new or intermediate players that takes them from the depths of space to the heart of galactic power. Opportunities for intrigue, investigation, and thrilling combat on the ground and in space. A host of diabolical enemies, from murderous robots to deranged cults, culminating in a showdown with one of the most powerful villains to plague the galaxy. The chance to earn glory and honor and even take command of a powerful warship during the final epic battle in the skies above Mechatol Rex. War for the Throne is an adventure book that takes place in the universe of Twilight Imperium, a universe explored in the source book Embers of the Imperium. To play those adventures, you'll also need a copy of the Genesis core rulebook, as you would to utilize this book. The 128-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $41.99, kind of an odd MSRP, or grab just the PDF alone over at Drive-Thru RPG for $19.95. Sweet. So you are getting some new content from Edge Studio. I was kind of curious when we were going to start seeing a bit more come out from them, because we don't really hear. Why did we get Arc Dream popping up there at the end? What the hell? Get out of there, Arc Dream. You don't belong there. Anywho, when Fantasy Flight Games shuffled all their role-playing game releases over to Edge Studio, which 6 of one, half dozen of the other, it's all Asmodee. We didn't see really much happening. A little bit of Legend of the Five Rings, but now it seems that they're kind of getting the ball rolling. So, kind of cool. Simon Templar, the Saint, is with us tonight. I believe this might be a first-time visit for the Saint popping on in. Wonder if it's the Roger Moore edition of the Saint. Or is it the Vincent Price edition of the Saint? We'll find out. O'Neill Flynn is also popping on in, saying that apparently they had to sub again for some reason. I don't know. Kind of strange. It's kind of weird. I've had other people tell me that they were subscribed and then they're not subscribed. And it's weird because I'll actually see my subscriber numbers will suddenly like drop by like 5 out of nowhere. It's like 4 or 5. And then a couple of days, they're back on there. And it's like, it's never just, oh, well, okay, lost a subscriber here, gained a couple of, no, it's all of a sudden, it's like 5, boom, gone. It's like, okay, all right, kind of weird. Travis Williams is also swinging on into chat. Good to see you. Thanks for hanging with the gang tonight. Looks like we've got a pretty rocking chat going. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, as you can see, kind of getting back in the swing of things. It's kind of funny. I'll take a week off, which essentially means like 11 days without doing a live show. And it never fails. It's like the first show back is always kind of like, I don't know why, because I record other videos down here, so it's not all that much different. Don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I was talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit say, Drive-Thru RPG or Storyteller Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, even Wargame Vault, stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop on by paypal.me/thegaminggang. Buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda by making a donation. Yummy. And a big tip of the cap to those of you out there who utilize the banner ads and or visit paypal.me, the Gaming Gang. It is much appreciated. All right, so tonight I am going to discuss why you should play Basic Fantasy. Now, this is the 4th edition. This is the most recent edition. I want to say it came out this year. And we're going to talk about this a bit, and I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I think this is really, really worth a look for you if you are into fantasy role-playing games. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
We've brought back those good old-time flavors, and today they're better than ever. All these delicious treats are waiting for you at the refreshment stand. Delicious fresh popcorn, ice-cold cola, and candy you know and love. They're all ready for you now, so you won't have to miss any of the feature. Come and get them.
Clausen's bread is like music to my ears. What are the symbols for? This is the very symbolic commercial.
I know a place that's peaceful and quiet. A place where animals play. It's called a forest, but every year we start forest fires. A careless match or cigarette and poof, fire. So the next time you're in the forest, be extra careful, okay?
If you knew it was me, would you have listened?
You won't find anyone who doesn't drink Wilkins instant coffee.
I'll look high and low.
How low can you get?
Dear kids, do you know what time it is?
What time, Lovable?
Time to take a new look at post alphabets.
That's alphabets, all right. It's got ABCDs.
And QRST. Yum, yum. Dear Monster, do you know what time it is? Time to take a new look at post alphabets.
That's alphabets, all right.
Certainly is. It's got all the letters from A to Z. Sugary, sweet, and fun to eat. Dear ladies, do you know what time it is?
What time, Lovable?
Time to take a new look at post alphabets.
That's alphabets, all right. Hey, Lovable, you know what time it is?
What time, dear kids?
Time to take a new look at post alphabets.
That's alphabets, all right. It's got LMNOs. Get some, dear kids.
So let me get this straight. Smokey the Bear killed Joanna Cassidy so he could wear her skin to tell us not to start forest fires? I'm not going anywhere near a forest. Whoa! What a bizarre PSA. Super, super bizarre. Kevin R. Smith's asking the postman's name again. Are we talking about Mr. McFeely? Wasn't that his name on Mr. Rogers? I don't think you're talking about Mr. Rogers, but DM Tail says Smokey's hardcore. Kevin King says, you know what causes fires, lady? Aquanet causes fires. So W4 says, Joanna Cassidy's replicant. It's okay. Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. Her and that snake. Kind of show is going on with that. So we're going to talk about basic fantasy in just a moment. But did want to mention I had an opportunity to, Kevin R. Smith says in the Alphabets commercial. Chris Lundgren says, Buddy, my bird says hi. Yes. The bird likes to hang out. Isn't it a cockatiel, if I remember correctly? Hello, buddy. Anyway, taking time off, I had an opportunity to binge watch a bunch of stuff. Midnight Green is with us. Cubs win. Well, hopefully they win again tonight. That was a good game last night. I was not expecting them to pull that out. Anyway, I had an opportunity to binge watch Masters of the Air, caught up with a few episodes I had missed of Shogun. I've been watching a bunch of Second City television, which is weird because I started watching reruns of SCTV on YouTube, I don't know, about a month ago. And I got Elliot into watching them. And then he was talking about how he had completely forgotten how crucial to SCTV Joe Flaherty was. And then Joe Flaherty passed away. It's like, wow. So I hear Buddy is flapping his wings every time I mention his name. Well, okay, I don't want him flying off on you. So I will just mention his name once. Well, twice actually now. I watched Fallout. I enjoyed it as someone who has played the video games. Although I got to admit, I actually never got around to playing Fallout 4. I don't know why I didn't. But played 1, 2, and 3 and messed around with New Vegas. Didn't complete New Vegas. But it was pretty good. And I also shared my review of the starter set for Fallout, the role-playing game from our friends over at Modiphius Entertainment. And actually kind of surprised it's pulling in a decent number of viewers. I'm like, oh, okay. I do have my review of the core rulebook coming. Yes, Sammy did review it already. She did a written review. But Modiphius Entertainment had sent me the physical book. I shared a first look. I figured, you know what? We'll ride the coattails of the Amazon Plus series. So, no, Amazon Prime. I just took Apple Plus and Amazon Prime and mashed them together. Midnight Green says New Vegas is fantastic. Actually, a lot of people say it's their all-time favorite. I forget. I started to play it and then something else came along and I was like, ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, shiny object. So, anywho, stay tuned for that. I will also have my review of Dr. Gordbort's Scientific Adventure Violence later on this week. Got a lot of reviews coming. Also want to point out that I know some people out there have thought I no longer cover board games. I do, but not a ton. Not a ton. So, plus it looks like our new reviewer has come and gone, which I'm just so used to that. It's like, okay. All right. Did one review and then it was almost like pulling teeth to get the second review. And then they're like, oh, well, I got to focus on my paid writing. And I'm like, oh, okay. They're like, yeah, I can help out, if you need it. And I'm like, it's like, it's okay. All right, let's see. Who have I missed saying hello to? Because I know we had a few people pop on in. Let's see. Matthew Blackwell is with us, as well as Midnight Green, which I already mentioned, and Behorn is also joining us in chat. Okay, so tonight's topic, I want to share 5 reasons why you should give Chris Gonderman's Basic Fantasy role-playing game a try. Why you should play Basic Fantasy role-playing game. That's the official name. We'll just call it Basic Fantasy. And I've got to say, this is the newest edition. Chris Gonderman was kind enough to send me this copy. So big thank you to Chris. I have shared reviews of the previous edition. I shouldn't say reviews. Review, singular, of Basic Fantasy in the past. We'll point out that my Why You Should Play series that I usually would share as just an individual video, I might just kind of slide them into the show here. So we'll see how it works out. Don't know. If not enough people watch, then I'll be like, okay, I'll just keep them separate then. Because they actually pull in a decent number of viewers. They really do. All right, so let's talk about Basic Fantasy. First of all, what the hell is this? So Dungeons and Dragons? Is it his own thing? What the hell is Basic Fantasy? And why is there a new edition? First of all, there's a new edition of Basic Fantasy because they wanted to get rid of all the open game license references. Kind of it. So as far as I could tell, and I'll be the first to point out, I've not sat running tons of Basic Fantasy or anything like that. So I am certainly not a Basic Fantasy aficionado, I guess I will say, or an expert as far as Basic Fantasy goes. But as far as I could tell, there are no major mechanical changes to Basic Fantasy. So a lot of people disagree. A lot of people kind of argue, is Basic Fantasy a retro clone of Dungeons and Dragons? More specifically, Basic Expert Dungeons and Dragons with some modern twists. Some people say, no, Basic Fantasy is not a retro clone. I myself personally say it is. I think it is a retro clone. Once again, we're talking old school Renaissance here, so nobody can ever agree on everything or anything with the OSR. But to me, I think it has enough mechanically from Basic and Expert, as well as some optional stuff with, advanced D&D character classes and things like that, that it's a retro clone. Just because it uses ascending armor class doesn't mean, oh no, it's not a retro clone. I mean, just my opinion. Just my opinion. Vaughn Moore is with us, as well as James Eck. We got a rockin' chat tonight. Thanks, everybody. James Eck says, community and price got to be 2 to the 5. Oh, you're stealing my thunder, man. Get away from that keyboard. Quit typing, James. DM Tail says, A, it's OSR. B, is a retro clone. C, people are dumb. I think it's all 3. Anyway, somebody else, I think we had somebody else pop in here in chat. Maybe not, that I've missed. Oh, there we go. We've got Mike. Hi, Mike. Good to have you on board. It might be a first-time visit in chat for Mike. So very cool. Very cool. All right. So these aren't in any like specific order. Okay. So the first thing we will discuss is just the sheer amount of content that is available for basic fantasy. And I'm not only talking about the amount of content that's available in PDF. I'm talking about physical releases. Now, this isn't all of them. This is just some of the stuff I grabbed off of my shelf behind me. And it's just loads and loads and loads of content. There are many fantasy role-playing games out there that have been around for quite a long time that has nowhere near the amount of content available for basic fantasy. And I also have to point out that you can kind of craft basic fantasy to be the sort of OSR role-playing game that you want. And there is plenty to choose from. And there are loads and loads of optional rules, optional character classes all throughout. So one of the big selling points for basic fantasy is that just jumping on board, there is so much content that's out there specifically for basic fantasy. And a lot of the adventures are inspired by original basic and expert adventures as well as advanced D&D adventures too. I don't want to say that they're ported over because there are some changes, but many of them are. And something else, it's very, very easy for you to convert old basic, expert, and AD&D modules over to basic fantasy. It's very, very easy to do that as well. So that's number one, sheer amount of content that is out there for basic fantasy. So reason number two, you can score all of this stuff if you just want the PDFs absolutely free. So yes, James is correct. Price is one of the big selling points of basic fantasy. But in my opinion, I don't think it's the biggest. I don't think it's the biggest selling point for basic fantasy. But if you want physical books, you pay cost. It's essentially cost what you're paying over at Amazon. So this core book here, the soft cover, I think it's like $8.75-ish. I'm sure somebody can pop on over into Amazon real quick and let us know in chat. But for 202 pages for $8.75-ish, somewhere, it's under $10. I'm almost positive it's under $10 because I think you can get the hardcover for like $17. Because I actually have the third edition in hardcover that I picked up. All this stuff here I bought, and funds are tight here at the Gaming Gang. Rogue Thinker's with us and says, I can afford free, barely. I'm right with you. You and me both. So it's really something. And I think I've probably got another 9 books sitting behind me. I didn't want to grab everything off the shelf and just be like, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. So you can't beat the price. You certainly cannot beat the price. Absolutely free in PDF. It's a rockin' deal. It really, really is. How can you go wrong with free? All right, so there's our first 2 reasons. Reason number 3 it is an exceptionally solid fantasy role-playing game. Of course, as I've already pointed out, it shares a lot of DNA with Dungeons and Dragons from back in the day, but still, it is really well done. And you can tell that this is an absolute labor of love from Chris Gonnerman and the folks who pitch in to help out with Basic Fantasy. Some of the differences that it's got from, say, Basic Expert, it doesn't have initiative for each side. So there is individual initiative, if I remember correctly. And yeah, of course, it's got the ascending armor class. So you've got that. It does actually draw from 3rd edition a little bit, as I'll be the first to point out. I never actually had 3rd edition, so this is what I've heard through the grapevine, that it does draw some from 3rd edition D&D. Can't tell you for certain. DM Tales says, yes, it is individual initiative. There you go. Very nice. So DM Tales says you can even download the no art word processing files, change what you want for your own game if you want. But you have to adhere to the Creative Commons stipulations if you want to do so, because someone just tried that. Yeah, some jerk off tried making a buck off of their ripoff of it. Yeah, I guess they really didn't even make any changes. They just were sitting there trying to glom onto all of Chris Gonnerman and his community's hard work. We were talking about that a couple weeks ago. I remember that. So yes, so you have to comply with Creative Commons. Rogue Thinker asks, no THACO? No, there is no THACO. So it is ascending armor class. So rolling your D20, meter exceed it. There you go. So you have to keep Chris's name on it, DM Tales mentions. Testy Trekkie's popping on in the chat. Good to see you, Testy Trekkie. Okay. So there is yet another reason that we were just discussing. Okay, so reason number 4, if you have players around your table who've only played 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, this is a pretty easy segue into Basic Fantasy. And because it is the roll high on a 20-sided die. I mean, that is your main mechanic. Now, of course, you're not sitting there with all the various different difficulty, DCs. Aren't they called difficulty challenge? Isn't that what DC represents? Strangely enough. For some reason, I want to say that's what DC stands for. Difficulty challenge or something. Anyway, but it is really, really easy to segue over to Basic Fantasy. Now, having said that, it's not necessarily easy to port over 5e adventures. Oh, difficulty class, Vaughn Moore says. Thank you. Yeah, it's still an oddball term. So yes, so Kevin R. Smith says the same thing. It's difficulty class. I just think DC. I knew it was difficulty something. But even difficulty class does sound odd. Yes, it does. So if you have players who, are kind of curious about the old school style of play, because Basic Fantasy is OSR, at least according to me, it is part of the old school renaissance because it does take that sort of approach to fantasy role-playing games. So there is the dungeon delving aspect of it. Rogue Thinker says CR is challenge rating. That I know. which is actually makes a little more sense. I mean, just grammatically, just sounds like, okay, well, that would be something. Difficulty class, just, I'm going to a class about difficulty. Where do I sit? Where do I sit in the classroom here? Anywho, so with Basic Fantasy, this, in my opinion, certainly is old school Renaissance. I know people, we just talked about it. People talk about, oh, well, no, it's a retro clone. No, it's not a retro clone. They also talk about how it is not part of the OSR. And in my opinion, the OSR is more a mindset as opposed to just specifically mechanics. But then other people are like, oh no, old school Renaissance, it's mechanics. If it's built off of original D&D, basic or expert, and expert, or advanced Dungeons and Dragons, then it can be OSR. If it's not specifically built off of that, which I said before, this is built off of. It's not only built off it, but then that makes it OSR. But like I said, in my opinion, I've talked about this before, the old school Renaissance to me is more of a mindset. It's an approach to the game style as opposed to just mechanics of the game. And the final reason I really think you should play Basic Fantasy, and James Eck stole my thunder on this, and to me, this is the number one reason, is the community behind Basic Fantasy, because it's not just Chris Gonnerman. He's the face of it. He's the main creator of it, but it's open to everybody. Anybody can sit there and create adventures for it, put it up on basicfantasy.org. That is the main website. And there are tons of optional rules. There are optional classes. So as an example, like if I remember correctly, I don't think I'm almost positive Rangers and Paladins aren't in here. It's just your traditional 4. Yes. So once again, just like Basic Expert. So you've got your 4 species, you've got your 4 classes. But if you want to play a Warlock, I'm going to tell you, there are optional rules on basicfantasy.org that you can utilize for Warlocks. Tons of adventures, and the community is probably one of the friendliest in the OSR. And we have talked about that in the past as well. Sometimes, depending on the audience, sometimes the old school Renaissance, there are factions within the OSR who are not necessarily the friendliest around, or the most welcoming to new players. And that's kind of a grown-yard thing, right? Where some people are like, I've been playing games for 30 years. We don't need anybody else, right? We don't need anybody new. Some war gamers are like that too. Sort of like, really? So you want the hobby to kind of just fall apart after you're gone? It's like, okay. But it's got a fantastic community, very, very friendly, very welcoming, very open to anybody and everybody to come on board and check out Basic Fantasy. Here's a bonus reason. And this kind of goes on to that pricing. A lot of people like to complain about how expensive role-playing games are, or how expensive the role-playing hobby is. And I mention it all the time myself when we're talking about, oh, hey, here's a news piece from XYZ company. They're releasing this. It's 128 pages, and it's $49.99. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Scott Weigel also points out Basic Fantasy leads you to traditional dungeon master approach instead of all about rigid rules and charts. Well, one of the tenets of the OSR is rulings, not rules. And I'm a big fan of that. That's my approach to sort of every role-playing game I run. Like Call of Cthulhu, I've said it time and time again. I'm not a big fan of their chase rules. They just don't click with me. So I got my own. Got my own. So anyway, a lot of people talk about how they're being priced out of the hobby. And this is a topic that was a big deal about 2 years ago. I don't know if it still is or not. You know me. I don't have an opportunity really to delve too deeply into like what other people in the hobby are saying. But there were, and this was board gaming too. It wasn't just role-playing games, where people are talking about, hey, you know, I would love to be able to enjoy this hobby, but I can't because I'm being priced out. A lot of people were complaining that the prices should be lower, which isn't necessarily the case. And once again, I'm not going to go on a tangent about this, but I've talked about this in the past too, where it's people think because they want something that they deserve it. And it's sort of like, no, sorry. You can't afford it. You can't afford it. Yeah, I come from a generation where it's like, well, take that back, because there's a lot of people in my generation who are just neck deep in debt. I am not, thank God. But a lot of people in my generation were like, you know what? I can't afford it. Well, I guess I can't afford it. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Oh, wow. You know, I'd really like to have Wingspan, but I just can't afford Wingspan. Oh, well, can't afford it. As opposed to a lot of people are like, oh, well, Wingspan should be $9.99 then. No beef here. Free in PDF. 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 $35. No, I'm kidding. Free in PDF. All absolutely free. And I love it. I love the fact that you can tell with Basic Fantasy, especially with the core rule book, that Chris Gonnerman put together Basic Fantasy because it is a labor of love. It really is. And yes, he also has Iron Falcon, which is his retro clone of original Dungeons and Dragons. I have absolutely no dislike for Iron Falcon. I own it. I bought it. It's just, there isn't a lot out there for it. Anyway, all in all, I really do feel for people who are new to the hobby, Basic Fantasy is pretty easy to grasp. It's no more difficult to understand than Moldvay would be. I mean, it's pretty simple to get on board with Basic Fantasy. And if you have a problem, just go to basicfantasy.org. You're going to find an answer to every single question you may have about the game itself. Really got to say, for newcomers to our hobby, as well as decades-long veterans, Basic Fantasy is going to fit their needs. If you are looking for an easily accessible and very affordable old-school Renaissance fantasy role-playing game. All right. Very nice. Very nice. Who did we have pop in here at the end? Phaedrus Live? So somebody can want something with all their heart and the creator can want to earn a living. Both positions are correct, paradoxically. Yeah, you gotta realize if that creator can't make a profit, or if the creator cannot profit enough to make it worthwhile to continue, making games and things like that, then what was the point? what was the point? John Snyder is joining us too here as I'm about to wrap up. So do want to mention tomorrow's topic. Probably going to piss some people off. So tomorrow I'm going to ask the question, do you have to support your local game store? And the question may come out of my mouth sounding like it's going to be like confrontational. No, it is not. But I am going to discuss the various ways you go about buying your games and what each way, I guess, how would I present this? How people approach their game buying needs. So, as an example, if money is no object, what would probably be your best avenue for buying your games? We're going to talk about that, but we are also going to focus on, do you need to support your local game store? And I'm going to clue you in on something here. In some cases, I don't think so. I do not think so. And I will talk about why. And that's what's going to piss people off, because I've had people bitch at me for mentioning Amazon. And it's like, okay, don't bitch at me for Amazon with Basic Fantasy, because that's where you get these softcover books. So Kevin R. Smith says, go ahead, piss people off. Controversy drives views. Yeah, so how can I throw Dungeons and Dragons into the title of it? Because that's... what did I just see the other day? It was something, and it was from a relatively well-known website. I think it might have been Polygon. And the title was D&D, but it didn't have an ampersand. It was capital D, capital N, capital D. And then it was, like I said, I can't remember exactly what the title was, but it was about a non-Dungeons and Dragons fantasy role-playing game. I was like, what? So what the hell is that? They had actually put D&D in the title of the article that had nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons, no affiliation whatsoever, nor any affiliation with Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro. And I was like, wow, you guys are really getting desperate for clicks. If you got to go that deep into the clickbait, ooh, those are some weeds. Rogue Thinker says, now we need a basic Gamma World and a basic Star Frontiers. Okay, well, we got a few minutes because the show usually goes, hour and a half. So we're looking at free, right? So basic Gamma World, basic Star Frontiers. Okay, so I'll give you your basic Star Frontiers. The art-free edition of Stars Without Number. That's absolutely free, I believe, as far as I know. Now, yes, there's no art in it. So it'd be kind of like, may not be the most exciting read as far as, keeping your eyes, kind of sort of like if you ever have to drive long distances, don't look at the road. Make sure you're looking around all the time, because otherwise you'll look at the road within about 30 minutes, you're going to be dozing off. Might be sort of the same thing, but you can get Stars Without Number, which is, I got to be honest, I have never checked it out, but a lot of people talk about how awesome it is. Right there, absolutely free. Now, let's see, post-apocalyptic games. So Vaughn Morris says Mutant Future is pretty much a basic expert version of Gamma World. DM Tales says it's also really good. Is Mutant Future the one where the author, he self-publishes and he actually also is the artist? Is that Mutant Future? I'm trying to remember. Because I know there is a post-apocalyptic game out there, role-playing game out there, where the creator is also the main artist on it. And the art isn't too bad. It isn't too bad. Sometimes you see the creator is also the artist and you're like kind of looking through and it's sort of like, maybe you should have just stuck to creating the game. Not always, just sometimes. Von Moore says it's by the same company as Labyrinth Lord. Damn, I'm trying to remember. Who makes Labyrinth Lord? I did check out a PDF of Labyrinth Lord years ago. It was pretty good. Kind of, in my opinion, Labyrinth Lord and Swords and Wizardry, even though they are different, they become interchangeable for some strange reason with me. I think it might be because they came out around the same time. Chris Lundgren says, title maybe for fun. Should you buy D&D in a store or online? That doesn't have a lot of kick to it. Chris Lundgren says, Mutant Crawl Classics. I wish I could agree with Chris. I really like Dungeon Crawl Classics. I would love to see a new edition of Mutant Crawl Classics because Mutant Crawl Classics just feels really thin compared to Dungeon Crawl Classics. Phaedrus Live says Mutant Crawl Classics is their favorite post-apocalyptic role-playing game. Oh, I don't blame you. I went into reviewing Mutant Crawl Classics thinking, man, this is going to be like Gamma World, but Dungeon Crawl Classics. And it's not. There's far less content in that book. So, and it was funny because at GaryCon 2 years ago, I was actually chatting with the creator that I didn't know. And he had mentioned it. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, yeah, I reviewed Mutant Crawl Classics. And he's like, I know. And I didn't say it was bad. I think I don't know. I gave like 6.5 or 7, something like that. It wasn't like a terrible score. I liked it. I just was expecting far more for it in that book. It just felt really, really pared down compared to Dungeon Crawl Classics, which I think is a blast. I honestly do. See, what other post-apocalyptic? Well, of course, I just reviewed this. But that is obviously not any sort of retro clone or OSR. It's the 2D20 system from Modiphius Entertainment. I'm trying to think. Of course, we've got like Morrow Project. Scott remembers Morrow Project. I wouldn't be surprised if Scott still owns some Morrow Project stuff from our high school days. But that's more hard science fiction, sort of, as opposed to like a Gamma World. See, strangely enough, I don't think people realize that the original Gamma World didn't have like the focus on mutants and mutant abilities and mutations and things like that. It was the original Gamma World, as far as I remember it, was more of a science fiction post-apocalyptic setting. And once again, if I remember correctly, because it's been 40 years since I read Gamma World. There wasn't a ton of like setting information. There was enough to kind of get the Game Master's juices flowing. So TM Tail says it didn't. 2 of the 3 classes were mutants. Yeah, but there wasn't a lot of like info. Like people think of Gamma World and they think of Gamma World almost like Mutant Year Zero, where Mutant Year Zero, the focus is on mutants. And in fact, they didn't really start introducing humans as player characters until what, like 4 or 5 supplements in? I don't remember there being a huge focus like we would see in later editions of Gamma World. Like I said, it's been about 40 years since I read it. I'm just going off of my memories of it, because isn't the core rulebook for Gamma World maybe 60 pages? Something like that. I don't remember it being a very thick rule book. I remember it just being kind of a soft cover, kind of like the Holmes edition of D&D, basic D&D. That was, what, 60 pages or so? Chris Lundgren points out the Planet of the Apes role-playing game is pretty darn cheap and good and post-apocalyptic. So I don't know why Chris is always pushing this Planet of the Apes role-playing game. I think it's coming to stores though, because I could have swore I ran across something. Scott Weigel says it was box set. That I remember. They still had the first edition, just like Boot Hill. Boot Hill, about 60 pages. I don't think it was more than that. And I'd say probably the last 4 or 5 pages were kind of devoted to both fictional cowboys or Western personalities and historical Western personalities. Chris Lundgren says that's not the same version. But isn't the one that's coming out, isn't that an official role-playing game? I don't know. Like I said, I kind of stumbled over something, but I had already had my news for the day, so I did not jump into it. Flaming Huron's with us. Says Chris must have shares in the company. Hey, Chris Connerman's with us. Once again, pointing out, $8.35. 4th edition. Softcover. Amazon. Yes, I know. Someone's going to jump in the comments. Stop telling people go to Amazon. Tell them to go to their friendly local game store. Can't get it there. All right? All right? Speaking of friendly local game stores, and this will be my last item, and then I will wrap up. Otherwise, this show will never end. Good to see Chris pop in. Much appreciated. I was going to say, when we were up at Founders and Legends, we popped into the game store that's in Lake Geneva. Somebody said there's 2. There's only one that I was aware of. So Ellie and I popped in there because for whatever reason, Elliot's like, oh, yeah, we'll pop in there. We'll look around, maybe, pick up something new. And I'm like, dude, we got like 20 games with us. It's like, you don't have to do that. It's like, we'll go take a look. So anyway, so it's not a very big game store, but they did have an area about the size of one of my bookshelves. And that was role-playing games. And I could not believe they had a portion of about, probably about this, filled with Harn stuff from Columbia Games. I was like, what? I was like, oh, Grant Dalglish would be very happy to know that. So I was talking with the the guy who was there, he wasn't the manager or anything. It was just somebody who was working there. And so Kevin R. Smith says, are they counting the dungeon hobby shop? Because that could distort things. Yeah, because that's really not a hobby shop. That's more of a museum now. Although they sell stuff. When you first walk in the door, they do have stuff that they're selling. Anyway, so he was saying that Harn is actually really popular with people in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. We're not talking Europe. We're talking Wisconsin. I was like, wow, okay. Char Aznable is with us, and the Werewolf also popped in. Char's asking, have I been to Games Plus? Yes, I used to go to Games Plus all the time. And I just don't live anywhere near there anymore. But I used to live right off of Northwest Highway in Chicago, and it is just off of Northwest Highway. You could also really take Metra there, the train, because there's a stop right there and you walk across the street, there's Games Plus. Yes, I used to go to Games Plus quite often. So very familiar with that. Although, like I said, I probably haven't been there in 8 years or so. But yeah, it's a very good game store. Very good game store. All righty then. So I'm going to wrap up once again. Tomorrow's show, I will have the latest in tabletop gaming news, and also we'll be discussing, do you need, how do we want to title this? How about if we do you have to support your local game store? ? I like that. I think we'll do that. I think that's how we will title it. And then we will discuss some ways that people go about buying their games and what ways are maybe better than other ways for people based on their amount of disposable income, I guess we'll say. All righty. So that is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. We are closing in on 13,000 subscribers. Sweet. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it's not only going to let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my review of the Fallout, the role-playing game starter set from Modiphius Entertainment. Yes. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on the channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you watched live, thank you very much. If you were watching live and took part in chat, tip of the cap to you all, because you not only keep me company, you keep each other company too, especially when I'm going through the news, right? That's why there was that basic fantasy conversation that was going on about halfway through the news segment. Cool with me. Anyway, I know a lot of people out there, they don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you watch live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy life to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. I will be back tomorrow. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. I will see you hopefully tomorrow. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Everybody, thank you very much for asking how I'm feeling. I feel fine. I feel good. I feel good. And until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.